What's going on, everybody? Sorry, there's a play in the way. I hope that y'all are doing okay. Today we're talking about Biscoff cookies. These things are super good. Unfortunately, I'm not drinking any coffee with them because I've already satisfied my addiction for the day. But these are really good to dip in coffee. They're super, super freaking yummy. So I'm gonna have one. Super yummy. I don't think that focused at all, but today we're talking about I Who Have Never Known Men by Jacqueline Harpman. Jacqueline Harpman is a Belgian writer. She wrote this when she was like 67 or something, which I took as sort of an inspiration, considering that I would love to write a book someday or create something to share with people and have a profound impact on them. But I have a conundrum where I'm worried about the time that it might take for that to happen. Feels like we have such little time, but in reality, you can make something at any point that will connect with people, and that's okay. But this book was given to me by my friend Davey Baby on YouTube. Go check him out, he makes some good stuff. But he gave this to me, and he didn't tell me anything about it, and I loved it. And I think it's a very good book to go into without really knowing anything about it. It's very unique, and there isn't quite anything like it, I would say. So I definitely think that if you're interested in it, I'm going to go ahead and say that you should read this. But if you need a little bit more convincing, then I will. But in this book, we follow this girl who's referred to as the Child. We never find out what her name is because she doesn't even know her own name, and neither do the other people in the book. But she is in this underground bunker with 39 other women, and none of the women know how they got there or why they got there or like what exactly the purpose is of their captivity. And they're in this underground bunker and this underground cage, and they're being like basically guarded by a bunch of other guys who just don't even say anything or talk to them. All they do is just like keep them from, you know, coercing with each other and like plotting any sort of revolution, you know, to free themselves from their captivity. And they have like a whip that they crack people with to keep them from doing anything. That's about like the first half of the book, is just detailing their captivity and like trying to figure out like figure out the little information that they are available to figure out, because they don't have much to work with. And it was super interesting. Like, there's a whole complex within this book, within the main character, that's like, you know, obviously she feels like she's missing out. She was brought into this situation when she was like 4 years old, and she didn't really have any memories to like base her past life off of. She doesn't know anything of the past, whereas all these other women, they have these whole lives that they lived before they were put into captivity. So there is just like a distance between them. And when the women speak of like these past events and they're able to look back on them fondly or crack jokes about it, the Child is just left out, and it really fills her with loneliness and prevents her from connecting with the women in the way that she would want to. Something goes awry, and the women manage to escape the cell due to a mix-up on their captor's part, and they are able to make it out of the underground bunker, and this kind of separates the two halves of the book. And then we follow the women in their journey across this vast and expansive planet that is kind of just empty. It's just empty plains, empty fields, and we just follow their journey and how they spend the rest of their days. And I just loved it. You don't get any answers out of this book. There was a little comment on the back of the book that said this is very similar to like a Kafka sort of work, and I would say also like an Albert Camus kind of work as well. It's like an absurdist book, and you don't really get any sort of answers to like the many questions that you might have, like with Metamorphosis or The Trial or The Stranger. And with this book, I Who Have Never Known Men, there's plenty of questions to be asked, but they're all meaningless questions because you're not going to get any sort of concrete answer towards them. You kind of just have to accept things as they are and take what you can from it. There's a lot to be said here about comparisons, and like how can we feel fondly about something or feel as if that we're missing out on something if we've never experienced it? How can we look back on love and affection through rose-tinted glasses if like we have no idea what that even looks like? There's just a whole thing here regarding that, and how experiences kind of define how we feel towards things. And there's also another little thing here about time that I thought was really interesting. It kind of goes along with like this reoccurring theme within literature of like how time is not really a real thing, and time here is kind of established as like a comparative tool. You know, it's like if we weren't able to perceive changes within our environment or within ourselves, like if the day didn't change into night, then time wouldn't even be something that's necessarily relevant. One of the reasons that we might perceive time as being a true thing is through the growth of humans, through people growing older, through their face developing wrinkles, through death. That's just another thing that is where time is seen. But if we aren't surrounded by these things, if we aren't surrounded by people to tell us what is happening or to observe these changes in, if we can't even see ourselves, then who are we to say that like the time is even changing at all? Who is to say that time has passed? I thought that was an interesting thing. There was also there was a paragraph that I wanted to read that I almost forgot about. Because I just thought that this was I thought this was beautiful. But a sky does not die. It is I who am dying, who is already dying in the bunker. And I tell myself that I am alone in this land that no longer has any jailers or prisoners, unaware of what I came here to do, the mistress of silence, owner of bunkers and corpses. I tell myself that I've walked for thousands of hours and that soon I will take my last 10 steps to go and put these sheets of paper on the table and come back to lie down on my deathbed. An emaciated old woman whose eyes, which no hand will close, will always be looking towards the door. I have a few drops of blood left. That is the only libation I can offer destiny, which has chosen me. Then I see the pale winter dawn break, and I go back down to sleep, if the pain allows me any respite, on the big bed where there is room for several people. Y'all should freaking read this book. I freaking loved it. Thank you, David, for giving me this book. I'm truly thankful. Thank you for not telling me anything about it. It was a great pleasure to read this, and I think that y'all will find the same pleasure that I found in it. So yeah, that's all I got to say. Go eat your Biscoff cookies. I'm going to eat mine. Y'all have a good day. Stay tuned for more videos. Goodbye.